from where I sit, there's some concerns about the way the preseason has been handled by the Panthers. And we learned more details of the decision-making process from Dave Canales this week, including the decision, for those of you that don't know, he passed off the play calling on offense for the first 2 games to the offensive coordinator, Brad Idzik, and Canales will take over for week 3. Some of the other position coaches on defense called the plays for the defense the last 2 weeks, and the defensive coordinator who will call the plays for the regular season will take over for week 3. That's Ejiro Evero. For an explanation on how it happened, why it happened, here's Dave Canales.
So Brad called the game offensively for the last 2 preseason games. Really valuable opportunity for me, as Brad is the main guy that I rely on during games to feed me information, play sequencing, when to get to certain things. I've been this wingman role for a lot of coordinators in the NFL, and I know how valuable it is as you're searching for plays and somebody in your ear just says, 2nd and 6, they're playing man. Boom, you got the right call. And for me, just the added value for Brad to feel what that feels like, to know here's when that information is appropriate. Here's how to sequence these things. These are the things running through his mind as he's, developing this game, as the game's kind of coming to us.
Now, there's some logic to what he's saying there. There's some advantages to getting other guys that experience.
Yeah, make him better at, helping me. Makes sense.
There is, like I said, there is some logic there. I don't think Dave Canales is a good enough play caller yet, an experienced play caller yet, to be passing off opportunities for him to be practicing his play calling. Right? Make sure your main play caller is polished, locked in, great at his job before you worry about the guy who might jump in and give you a suggestion here or there during the season. He needs to get into a rhythm. He needs to get back in the earpiece of Bryce Young. Get into a rhythm with what Bryce Young likes and doesn't like. He needs to be doing that. Not to mention, it removes a variable, right? Because now I'm sitting here thinking, all right, Bryce didn't look good through 3 or 2 preseason games, but maybe it was he didn't vibe with the play caller. And I don't want to have those escape hatches, right? You want to know if someone's not playing well, they need to fix it. Not, though, well, once Dave it gives you like a, like once you know how to fix the problem, you don't have a problem. Right? So it's, if all it takes is, last time he was being play called by Dave Canales, he was scoring 1 million touchdowns against Atlanta. Why would we worry? I'm going like, I think we should worry, but I get what you're saying too, because you have that trap door to escape out of, logically. The last 3 games, last month, whatever you want to call it, the last hot streak for Bryce Young last season is not enough to put away the tools and say the work is done. No, the interactions between Canales and Bryce Young are still in their infancy. In their infancy. It's one thing to see super tenured quarterbacks and super tenured coaches handle preseason differently. If Aaron Rodgers wants, whoever's coaching Aaron Rodgers wants to say, all right, we're going to let the wide receivers coach call plays, who cares, quite honestly? Because Aaron Rodgers can be out there changing the play at the line and getting into a good play regardless of what's called, right? If Andy Reid, who's been calling plays since I was in diapers. If Andy Reid wants to let his offensive coordinators get those reps, that's fine, because Andy Reid is polished. He's ready to go. He knows he can turn it on at the drop of a hat. Sean McVay, same thing. Even though he doesn't have the length of experience, he's pretty darn well proven. Canales has been calling plays in the NFL for the same length of time Bryce Young has been in the NFL. They're children in that respect. You're not good enough to be worried about someone else getting better. You need to worry about you getting better. Especially when you look at some of the struggles they've faced the last 2 years. Last year and then into this preseason, I guess I should say. Not really 2 years. right? There has been times where the play calling is not aligned with what Bryce does well. And then last kind of, tangible point to make here is it's a voice in the head thing, right? The play caller is literally the voice you hear in your headset giving you the play. Athletes are wild. Most athletes. I'll say most because I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, actually, this person wasn't. Most athletes are unbelievable creatures of habit. Some would say it flirts on superstition, but it's like, you want to have the same pregame meal. You want to do the same warm-up. You want to have the same conversations. You want to double-check the same things. And if you think I'm crazy, go look at just for 2 games. If you ever get the opportunity, watch the training room before an NFL game. Nobody is going to be getting their ankles taped by 2 different trainers. They're going to be getting their ankles taped by the same one at the same time. They're going to walk up, and if their trainer is busy, they'll go, I'll wait. Even if every other trainer is wide open, going like, hey, you can sit here on the table. I'll tape your ankles. It's like, nope, I'm waiting for Joe because Joe is my guy. Is it superstition? Is it routine? I don't know. But then you're putting Bryce Young out there for 2 series. 2 series. And he's got a different voice in his headset. Little different cadence, little different vibe, little different. Different isn't what you want. You want routine. And now as soon as you're not playing Bryce Young in week 3, Dave Canales is going to call the plays. It's 2 ships passing in the night. Never the twain shall they meet.
I think there should have, looking at it, I understand what Dave Canales wants to do in terms of helping Brad Idzik be better in terms of helping Dave Canales when it comes to actual game day. I get the logic for it. But I think the balance should have been maybe the first half Dave Canales calls plays, especially when Bryce is out there and Andy Dalton's out there. Then in the second half, turn it over to Brad Idzik. Let him call plays in the second half. And then maybe for this game, if you know the starter's on play, then go full Brad Idzik for it. But I think I'm with you in the sense of Dave Canales is still super young in his play calling career. I know he's been in the NFL for quite a while, but in terms of actually calling the plays on down and distance, on situations, it's still very young to him as well. And he needs the reps with Bryce just as much as the Bryce needs the reps with him. It all has to be a balance in that situation.
And I think it's a really good way because I get the muddy nature of the decision, the foggy nature when you are the head coach and the offensive play caller, right? Because it's almost like you're, like a player coach in that situation. You're like, nope, I'm putting myself in the game as play caller. But look at it from the defensive side, right? Because Ejiro Evero didn't make the play calls on defense either. What about the Panthers' defense last year made you think the guy calling those plays, he doesn't need to be polished up at all. He doesn't need his play calls to be worked on.
Yeah, hey, we're good.
They've only been historically bad on defense. So, yeah, you know what? Let's make sure the assistants get a chance to really, lock in. The guy up top, he's good. It just feels foolish, doesn't it? It feels foolish. And if it feels foolish, it might be foolish, in which case, don't do it. I would have had Evero calling every play for all 3 preseason games going, you need all the work you can get, buddy. I've seen the film of our defense. And as much as the offense burst at the end, let's not act like it was the greatest show on turf out there. Right? It was not exactly the 2013 Broncos, 07 Patriots. Like the same logic could be applied to Dave Canales. It's just it's kind of the player coach thing. Like the head coach of Dave Canales, the CEO of the team, has to look at play caller Dave Canales and almost separate it and say, play caller Dave Canales needs all the reps he can get. It's no different than if you could guarantee a quarterback wouldn't get hurt in preseason, right? Because play callers, I guess they could get hurt if like some, standing on the sideline or something, tripping down the stairs. But they can't get hurt in preseason. So imagine how many reps you would give a player if you could guarantee they wouldn't get hurt. You'd give them all. You'd give them 75% at least if you want to give 25% to the backups to get them ready. Like if I'm Dave Canales, I'm taking that. And I don't get why you wouldn't. Again, until it is so obvious that you're ready and rearing to go, right? As soon as, if you're Kyle Shanahan, fine. Because Kyle Shanahan is a wizard play caller. Dave Canales isn't that yet. And by the way, I would be saying the same thing about those guys if they were going into their third year play calling. Like, it has nothing to do with Dave Canales' knowledge of offensive schemes. It's just preseason games are the closest thing you get to real reps. They're valuable. You only get so many of them. Again, we're talking with Mike Glennon later on in the show. We're airing a conversation from earlier today. And the thing that Mike always points out, and I forget about it every year, and then when we talk to him during preseason, he brings it up, is in practice, as a quarterback, there's always a bunch of people directly behind you. You always have coaches and other players and everything. They're like 7 yards behind you. And he goes, the first time you jog out there for preseason, it's like you're naked almost. You're out there and it feels like really alone, because especially if you're a backup or something like that and you haven't played in games that often. It's those little things about a preseason game that you're like, oh, yeah, this is different. Right? I don't care how many play calls you've called in a joint practice till you're sitting in a TV timeout for 3.5, 4 minutes, which you would never do in a joint practice, but in a preseason game you are, and you get to interact with the quarterback throughout that whole time in his headset, and he can't really talk back to you if you're in a booth, or he's out there on a field doing different things. Right? There's just certain parts of a preseason game that are more like games than anything else you could offer, and passing up the opportunity for a mediocre offense and a bad defense to use those limited reps to get better with your A team seems crazy to me. And then to turn around in the third game where the starters aren't going to be playing, go, now I would like those reps. It's like, did you wait for everybody else that mattered to not be out there in order for you to jump in? I want my dress rehearsals to be with the whole starting cast. I would take less time with everybody out there than more time separated and divided.